Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be showing you a cool little technique that I like to call a confetti veneer. So what you're going to need is a sheet of white clay that has been rolled out to about 1mm thick. I would not go any thicker than that. You can go a little bit thinner than that. 1/2 mm is probably the thinnest you want to go. Okay, and to start off, I'm just going to quickly burnish this because I want to get rid of any roller lines that my pasta machine might have created. So I'm just using a piece of plain printing paper to do that. Wax paper, greaseproof paper, all those sorts of things will work as well. As long as it doesn't have any lines on it, the paper will work. Right. Then you're going to need to have chosen some colours. Now I've chosen some different colours in Primo, and let me see which one's this called. Hardly ever use this colour. This is fuchsia. I have also got some cobalt and some wasabi. I thought those were nice bright colours. Now keep in mind you can use any colours you want. Just make sure that you do not condition them and make sure that they're nice and bright and stand out. Though of course you can use some neutral colours as well if you wanted to. Right, so now I'm going to start with the most dominant colour in my opinion, which would be this one, then go to this one, and then finally we're going to use the wasabi. So put these two to the side, and these have not been conditioned, they're nice and crumbly. I'm using a nice thin grater, and I'm just doing very small little grates. I don't want to do long strips. So that you create this kind of effect. And you can alternate between long and short shavings, but don't go too long. So if I find that I have areas where I have a really long piece of clay, I will remove that. Though again, that is all personal preference. So yeah, I'll just remove that and then spread that part out a bit, because I don't want it to be too thick. Okay, then I'll bring over that piece of paper again, and I will quickly flatten. You do not have to do a quick rub, this is just to very quickly flatten it. And it works a bit better than a roller because the clay might stick to the roller, whereas with the paper it does not stick. So you can see it creates a really beautiful effect, and you can leave it at that if you want, but I want to add some more colours. So I'm not going to worry about cleaning the grater because it's just got the pink on it and we already have pink on here. And I am now going to start, oops, wrong way around. I'm going to start grating on our blue. And you use so little clay with this technique that it's really quite good. You can get a whole bunch of colours, just grab one block of a bunch of different colours, and you can try this technique out and they'll last you forever. And best of all, you don't have to condition it, so this is a nice way to use up any crumbly hard clay that is hard to work with. There we are, that's our blue. And then lastly we will do the green, which will take just a moment. Now this is a little softer than the others, so we might have a little bit of clumping. And it might not shave over as nicely. Let's see, oh, that's going pretty well. And this is a nice bright colour, so I want a decent amount of it. Okay. And then we'll burnish it. And this time around, give it a thorough burnish. So I'll burnish first with my fingers just to get it down. Then I'll bring over my roller and I'll just give it a roll. And I'm using the paper so that we don't get any fingerprints, we don't get any roller marks. We get a nice, smooth, consistent texture. Now I'm just going to use the roller to just smooth in those pieces. Like so. And you can see that the wasabi is slightly translucent, so the parts where it overlaps some of the other colours, you can see it creates an interesting effect, and I quite like that. So bear in mind that your colours are going to interact differently depending on their translucency. So you might want to do a little test piece if you're concerned that your colours, if they overlap, might not look nice. but in general it looks quite nice. So now I'm just going to take this, trim the edges, and then also try to get rid of this excess. Okay, and this is all together the waste that we end up with. So I'll put that to the side, and this I'm going to just pick up with my blade, and I want this to roll this through on the same setting of my pasta machine as the white was rolled out, just so that we get a nice even texture. So that is the level 3 on my pasta machine. Okay. Now I'm going to take it down one setting and I'm going to roll it through again. Like so. I'm going to flip it over, same setting again, roll it through, flip it over, same setting, roll it through. And now I will repeat that one more time. And there we go. Now it's nice and even. We should have it nice and smooth pretty much. Okay. And so now we are ready to move on to the second step. Okay. Now bear in mind this second step is completely optional. You do not have to do it. You can just leave it the way it is. But as I showed on Instagram, where I made these cute little earrings, I have the confetti side on the front, and then I have this little silk screen part on the back. So I'm going to be showing you how to create that. So first thing to do is going to be to cut this just about in half, and this is the part I will leave for the front, and this is the part I'm going to use for the silk screen on the back. Now I'm going to roll it through my pasta machine, and I'm going to take the pasta machine one setting down, and I'm just going to roll this through just to stretch it a touch. Okay, and now I'm going to be using this silk screen from Tonya's Treasures. Yeah, so that you can see it over there. It's this really nice flower texture, or not texture, silk screen. So I'm going to flip this so that it is facing me lengthwise. And I'll place the silk screen down. And I'm going to very gently burnish that on, not too hard, just enough that it is going to be stuck down. Okay. Then I'm going to bring over some black acrylic paint. I'm going to give it a quick shake. I'm going to apply it to the top, like so. Okay. Then I'm going to scrape that across the surface. Like so. I'll just go back to the beginning and just make sure that I get all the different areas. And I just want to grab any excess paint that might be on the surface, and I'm just going to wipe off that. And I'm going to go over one last time. Wipe again. Okay, and this time it's the last time round. Right. There we go. Then I will lift that up. You can see we get a nice pattern. And now I'm going to go put this into a sink of water to clean it. Okay, and there we go. Now I've waited for that to dry, and I'm just going to pick that up, like so. Now I'm just going to pick up this paint here. Okay. And now we are ready to use this. So this is going to be the back. So I'm going to bring over a piece of printing paper, flip it, then place this one down, like so. And we're just going to give this a quick burnish. And all this is going to do is it's going to bond these two veneers together. And we'll just get rid of any air bubbles that are hiding out in between the two. And also we'll just clean up any fingerprints that might have been created. Okay. So now I want you to trim these edges because you want this to be a nice veneer where you want the two veneers touching each other. You don't want to accidentally cut. So you don't want to cut over here and think that this is resting on this piece, but then find that it's actually not. So you want to trim that away. So just repeat that on both sides. And then you should be able to flip, and you should not be able to see any white parts. It should all be the same veneer. Okay. Then place this onto a ceramic or glass tile. Burnish that down, because you want it to be stuck to the tile. It will make your life a lot easier. Okay, and right now this is roughly about 2 to 3, I'd say about 2.5 millimeters thick. And I'm going to bring over these cute little stamp cutters, and the outside will cut out our piece, but the inside will leave a little stamped image. And you can see that I have two different types here. I'm going to be using my larger one. I do apologise for that, that was the cat. She's trying to get inside my cupboard. Okay, so anyway, I have that down, and actually before I do that, I'm actually supposed to put some cling film over the top of this because I want to give it a nice dome. If you were to just cut straight like this, you would get a nice clean cut, but the top part of the stamp areas would be flat. So I'm going to bring over some cling wrap to give us a dome. Okay. There we go. Then I'm just going to cut that. We call it cling wrap or glad wrap. It's basically just plastic sheet that you put over your food containers, but you can use it to create a nice dome. Then press, and you want to press along the outside so you get a nice clean cut. You should be able to get basically a completely clean cut even through the cling film. Okay, and there you can see how it's given us a nice little dome. Now I want to repeat again, and I'm going to do it on this side. Okay. And the cling film will give you a bit of resistance, so you might find that you need to press quite hard. If you weren't using cling film, it would cut really nice and straight through, but because we're busy creating a dome, it will resist you a bit. Now you can see there how the cutter cut through the cling wrap. That is what you're supposed to get. So now if I lift this, you can see that it has cut, but just to make sure that I get a very nice clean cut, I will go back through and just gently press around the edges like so. Do the same on this one, just press around the edges. Okay, and then you would be able to lift it up. But before I do, I want to cut out 2 little teardrops. And these ones I will leave flat. So I'm going to cut out a teardrop, and this comes with the set. And you can see it's stuck in the cutter there, but it should come out pretty easily. There we go. You can see how nice of a clean cut that is. I'm going to cut another one that matches down here. And then I have made some extra ones off to the side here, and for those ones I'm going to cut out a little circle, which also comes in the set. Okay, and those ones didn't stick, which is quite nice. Right. Then you should be able to lift that up and you get a pretty nice clean finish. Then use your blade to just lift them up, and I have that piece of paper that we used earlier. I'm just going to pop all my pieces onto there, and so this one I basically made it only 1 millimeter thick, and so you can see how much more dramatic the dome is depending on how thick your piece is. So the thicker it is, the more dramatic the dome. The thinner it is, the more of a just light bevel you're going to get. Okay, lift that up. You can see we have the nice silks around the back. Then just go around the edges and just gently tap down, any of the little fuzzy bits around the edge. There's not much there because we got a nice clean cut, and that way you won't have to do any sanding. Do the same with these little ones, just go around the edge, and that way you should not have to do any sanding. Okay, so here they are now that I have trimmed them all out. And so now we're going to pop those into the oven for a full hour at your brand's recommended temperature. I'm using Primo, so I'm going to be doing it at their temperature. And then when we're done, we are going to probably give them a little bit of a coat of UV resin. And maybe give a light sand. There might be a little bit of sanding that needs to be done, but in general we smooth it off pretty well. The more smoothing you do before it goes in the oven, the less sanding you're going to have to do. And then we can assemble them into earrings. So you can see here these parts, they are separate, so they'll probably hang more like that. But you can see that you have the rounds as well. So I'll pop these into the oven. You put them on a piece of printing paper or greaseproof paper, some sort of a paper that does not have lines in it, because if it has lines it will transfer into the clay during the baking process. The reason you want to put it on a piece of paper is so that you don't get glassy backs. Where you get these horrible looking little shiny spots. You want it to have a nice matte finish. Okay, so here they are out of the oven. Now these ones I'm going to leave matte just the way they are. These ones I'm going to give just a very light sand with a 1200 grit sandpaper, because we're going to be putting some resin on us. And I generally find that UV resin behaves itself better if you've given your piece a light sand beforehand. It will get rid of any dirt, grease, things like that, and then you'll find that your UV resin doesn't I find that it doesn't sit smoothly on the piece if I don't give it a very light sand. Just quickly giving it a quick sand around the edges to smooth it off. Don't worry about the back because that has paint on it, you can't sand that. And then just repeat with these other pieces. Okay, so now I want you to bring over a resin mat, and this is just a silicone mat. And what it means is if the resin does happen to spill off, it's not going to stick to something like a tile or a piece of paper. The silicone, the resin will peel right off, so it won't stick. Okay, then I'm going to apply a little bit of this UV resin to each of these teardrops. And then I'm actually going to use those as a little source for my UV resin, because I don't want to put too much on. Okay, and make sure to get it down into that line. And just coat your whole piece with a nice thin coat of this UV resin. Make sure that you don't have any open spots. And then when you are done, pop that into the UV light for 15 minutes. And when it is done, we will assemble our earrings. Right, and there we go. They are out of the UV light. So now we need to drill them. So I'm going to put to side 2. And I'm going to drill. And now I always do it resin side first. And the reason for this is because if you push down the resin, it's not going to lift up from the polymer clay. So if you went from the back end, the non-resin side, you'll be pushing up on the resin rather than pushing down it like you would if you go from the front. And going from the front will therefore prevent the resin from lifting up and off of the clay. Okay, just drill straight through. And you can see the back. The back I will just leave exactly as it is. Okay, then we're going to drill the top of our teardrop and the bottom part. And then you will repeat with the other earring. and then I will just do the last little drill on the top, and then I will repeat with the other two pieces that I have. Okay, there we go. So now I am going to bring over my pair of pliers, my jump rings, and I need 4 jump rings, and my ear wires. Okay, so first things first, open up our jump ring, loop that through, grab the bottom of our ear drop and loop that through as well. This can be a little fiddly, there we go. Close. Okay. Then grab the other jump ring, open that up, and then I'm taking this ear wire and I'm going to just twist that loop around. And there we go, we got our earring. Okay, that's the side, and I'll repeat with the other one. Okay, and there we go. Now these will hang better once they're actually hanging, but on the tile you can see it, they will slant slightly. But yeah, that's basically it for this tutorial. It's very simple. Here are the other two that I left matte. Just to show off, I will finish off those earrings later on. But as you can see, I definitely do prefer the resin version. I just think it has a nice glossy, kind of almost faux lampwork effect to it. But of course you can leave it matte if you want to, but I definitely do prefer it with the resin. So anyway, I do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. And keep in mind, you can play around with this. You can do a bunch of different colours. You can also create different backings depending on what silkscreen you use. I use this really nice flower silkscreen, but again, any silkscreen you use will work pretty nicely. And do this in a bunch of different colours, because there's many different ways that you can do it. It's confetti after all. And if you want to share photos of what you create, check out my Facebook group on Facebook. I have a link to it in the description below this video, so you can go and check that out. And if you would like to support the channel so that I can continue doing videos like this every single week, please consider becoming a patron. I have a link to that in the description below as well, as it helps support this channel, and you will get exclusive videos on there that I do not share on YouTube. Also, if you don't want to become a patron, you can always check out my Etsy store as another way to support me. That's where I sell cutters like the ones that I showed in this video, and many other different tools that can help you with your polymer clay. So if you want to check that out, that would be super helpful and much appreciated. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.